Here is feedback for the Biology IA draft for anonymous student E for our DP 2026 cohort. Starting with the research question, what rocky shores are you referring to? Since you're talking about wave exposure, you really need to have the wave exposure values here as well. Finally, Gale Fort, where is this? In fact, all those comments really should have been for the research question. Looking at your background information, I believe you really should have an image, cited of course, of your limpet species. Some good information here, but whereabouts are the in-text citations? We use MLA, we expect it. You talk about wave exposure increasing desiccation risk. Really? How? I re-examine this. You talk about a height of 4.5 meters. Why is this? There's no justification of that height. You also need to add in a section talking about the wave exposure scale and the values of the site. You could mention the fact that they both have similar geology or rocks or substrate as well. Looking at your hypothesis, I'm not sure this is related to the experiment you did, because you talk about in your research question at a height of 4.5 meters, then you talk about lower and exposed beach here, yet in your controlled variables, you also talk about at the same height up the seashore. So I think this needs revisiting. Your independent variable is good, but again, add in the wave value, the wave exposure values. Controlled variables here, you could also add in the fact that the substrate, the rock types were similar. In the materials, I really like that you're listing your materials and then you've got your justifications, but they get in the way a little bit. I would suggest create two column table, hide the lines. First point is the equipment. The second box is the justification. The justification for using it, and lay it out that way so you can quickly read down to see the equipment. You can quickly see the justification for each piece. It's not quite mixed up like this. The last three items here, we really need a little bit more information, model, make, etc., so other people could use them. Looking at your method, it's very genetic. Oops, very generic, wrong biological word. Use a tide time to play. When did you come here? What time? What day? Add your details for your investigation. Now, this is a little bit confusing. It looks to me like you're purposefully choosing different areas on each of your sites, meaning, does it not, that you've changed a second variable that you should not have done. Coming down here, okay, along each height, I thought, firstly, how did you choose this? There's no justification of the height, no method for using this thing. And here, I thought you used randomized sampling to choose your quadrats along your train. I could be wrong, but that was what I believed had happened. Here it says preferably left. No. You used the left. That just seems wishy-washy to me. Coming to D, it says the rock or ear. Where's this? Here. It can't be or in a method. This is what you did, not what you might do, is you say, well, you could do this or that to tighten this up. Looking at your risks and ethics, add in you always had a second person / adult at the site. At table 1, revisit your spelling, proofread please. This gap is not needed. The biggest thing here is though, tables must all be on one page. So you can come up to the front here and that could actually be directly here. And then in the front of it, Control Enter or Command Enter instantly moves it to another page. You have to shrink the font slightly, so be it, but get all your table on one page. Looking at this, plus or minus 10 means you're saying you believe you had an error count of 20 per sample. That's more than half of some of them. I think you need to revisit that to be a little bit more accurate. Looking at graph 1, abundance per watt, a little bit more details. Standard deviation, do you mean error bars? Hard to say. Otherwise, it looks good. I would put wave exposure values here as well, just so it's a wee bit clearer for the people reading it. And down here, okay, you've got values. You should make more effort to use them, but you kind of justify that. Looking at this section, you talk about an overlap. Where are we? Anyway, it should be an overlap in standard deviation rather than the overlap that you refer to. I forget what you refer to it somewhere here. Yeah, here on individual quadrat values. It's an overlap in the error bars, the standard deviation. Coming through to limitations. This isn't a limitation. This is just a description of your data. Otherwise, they're okay. Looking at your conclusion, near the end, you say both sites have fairly low wave exposure value. You still have not introduced what those values are. And you could perhaps extend it. What would you expect? An area with a high wave exposure value, since these two are both fairly low. I like the information in your weaknesses and limitations. However, I really feel like you could make this into a 3-column table. First column, weakness or limitation. Second column, realistic improvement. And third column, explanation. So again, the information you have here can be organized in a better way. The information is right. MLA, this is not called a bibliography. It's called the works cited. You really need to change that up. It should be in alphabetical order. And quite frankly, for a DP Biology IA, you should have a number more than 2 sites. One of the reasons I think there's so few is if we come back up here, where are your in-text citations to back up your information? You need a lot more in-text citations to back up your information in your background information and in your conclusion, where you should have more of an effort to actually explain why you found out what you found with citations backing it up. Thank you very much. I hope this will help you.